Welcome back, folks. Appalachia. Chuck Cora here with Big John Eisner. I have to talk about the biggest thing in America right now. First, are you watching the Olympics? Have you watched any of it?
I have. I have been watching. This year, I just discovered that breakdancing is an event.
Yeah, it's new,
right?
I think. I don't know if it's new this year,
it's
relatively
how is
new.
that in? How is that? I'm sorry, for all the professional breakdancers, how the hell is that in?
Look, if dressage is a sport where you prance around a horse...
That too. How is that in?
How do the horses not get medals is what I want to know.
Right.
I mean, Mitt Romney owned a horse. He technically owned an Olympic athlete, which is pretty fucked up. But
wow, when you say it like that.
I mean, yeah, no, he did. I normally don't watch. I don't know. I'm more of a Winter Olympics guy. I love bobsled. Love it. Would do it.
I
if
love
I could.
that. John Candy was a good coach.
Yeah, he was a hell of a coach. So
coach.
I was at Best Buy. My wife was looking for a printer. Don't know why. But
okay.
I was
probably
bored.
Print some.
Probably print some. Yeah, you're probably right. That's pretty logical. I was bored, and I saw that archery was on the TVs there. I was like, all right, okay, I'll get into this. I found myself being very invested in the United States archery team. Okay? So you think like, oh, you know, kind of a blasé sport. They're playing. Maybe they were. Playing the Uzbekistan team, Uzbeks. All right, and first of all, I'm very invested at this point. This is the only time I get patriotic is during the Olympics. The Uzbek team had like these wild-ass uniforms, costumes. They had like bucket hats. They looked like they were models for FUBU in the 1996 JCPenney spring catalog. Like, that's what they look like.
Now that guy's on Shark Tank.
Probably. He's fierce. And so then...
He is on Shark Tank.
Who?
The guy who invented FUBU.
Oh, okay. Well, I meant the Uzbekistan archery team, but maybe they're
I
on
know.
Shark
I'm just
Tank.
saying he's got people in the Olympics. He invented FUBU. He's got an Olympic team.
Well, it's working for him, I guess.
I can't wait till South Pole makes a comeback.
They will. It's for the Winter Olympics, though.
I heard they are coming back, though.
Well, let's hope. I mean, it's melting, so... Anyway, so I'm there, and like these Uzbek people, they're pretty good, right? They're shooting, they're getting some bullseyes, and I'm like, okay, what's America got to bring to the table? And this is the first time I ever felt like I could look like an Olympic athlete. I probably couldn't be one. I could look like this guy comes out. He looks like a guy. He looks like he pounded a Mick Ultra or two before he jumps on it. It's a guy. Pretty average looking, got a beer gut for America, beard. Looks like he's seen his fair share of dive bars or two. I'm already respecting the hell out of this guy. I'm like, yes, this is the guy
you can root for.
Absolutely. He's probably a turkey hunter in his off time.
Oh, yeah.
He comes up there, cool as a cucumber, ice through the veins, just knocks one back, goosh, boom. Bullseye, motherfucker. I stand up in the middle of Best Buy. I'm like, hell yeah, America. People are looking at me like, what is wrong with this kid? But I, for once in my life, had American pride. And it was during archery. And we beat the shit out of those Uzbekistan people.
Well,
sorry if that's racist.
I don't know how it would. I respect the Olympics because I'm a firm believer that not everybody gets a medal, okay? Not everybody gets one.
Participation trophies, that's right.
No participation medals here, but they do have pretty cool pins.
They do.
Everybody's getting pins. They're hot right now, so if you got them, sell them. Get out right now. Huge collector piece.
Yeah, make it like Dogecoin. Sell it while you still can.
God, it's so true. What I'm looking for is, and I wonder, is there a sport that we think in the Olympics that Appalachians should absolutely dominate?
Yeah, shooting. And fucking America lost big time.
What?
Yeah, we didn't win the gold in shooting.
Okay, hold on. I know. I have a reason, though. I have a theory.
Please tell me, because all the fucking things that we export, like mass shootings, we can't win?
West Virginia University. They're the best shooters in the nation. Okay.
True. Yes, they are, and we had some West Virginians compete.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. You start looking at the team, and if I remember correctly, the team is from all over the world. It's not just people from the United States.
West Virginians. Yes.
Or no, just even United States. So all of these people who are like crushing it, I don't think are actually from the United States.
Yeah. Okay.
And so they're representing all their other countries, dominating, and then coming back and winning national. They're winning natties for us, so I'm cool with that. But I think that's what's happening.
I'm just saying that Appalachians are born and bred with a gun, basically, and a lot of us are. And so you'd think that like it would naturally course through our veins. I'm looking at the medal count here in Paris. Mm-hmm. China beating the United States in shooting. China, we're going to let the Chinese beat us. South Korea.
Wow.
And who is right next to us with only 2 medals behind? The fucking British. We had a revolution involving guns to beat these motherfuckers.
We've already beat them.
You're telling me we can only get 2 medals ahead? I'm sorry. Look, this is no shade. I am not an Olympic athlete by any means, but damn it.
All right.
America should be number 1 in shooting.
Here's the problem. I was wrong. I was wrong. We should absolutely be winning. Okay? Because if we just took the West Virginia Mountaineer team, put them as the American team, I think they win. My opinion. I mean, they're beating everybody else.
I agree.
Okay?
Give them a coonskin hat, too.
So we got Gavin Barnick. He's from Wisconsin and Alaska. I don't know how you can be from both, but that's pretty cool.
I don't know, but that guy knows how to shoot a gun.
Ashlyn Blake, she's from New Jersey. Cameron Camp, Texas. Maximus Duncan. This guy's name is Maximus.
Where is he from?
You want to guess?
Is it the United States?
Yes, it is the United States.
Okay, my first thought was Massachusetts.
Well, that was easy, but no.
Okay,
you went ma with ma. You can't go ma.
Okay, but what region of the country?
I'll give you I won't tell you the region because I think that'll give it away, because I think that once I tell you the region, you'll be like, oh, of course he's from here. But what I will tell you is there are mountains.
Colorado?
Yes! Colorado!
I mean, Maximus. Okay, all right.
He is from Colorado. Griffin Lake from Pennsylvania.
Griffin, okay.
Natalie Perrin. I'm definitely saying that wrong because there's an ear thing next to her name where you can hear how to pronounce it, but I can't hear it. Jacob Wiseman, who is from good old West Virginia. And finally, Lori Srija, who he is from Finland, so maybe he's on their team.
Okay. Well, I'm of the opinion that America, if we are going to have the most guns, if we are going to be mocked by people for our guns, then we should be winning the Olympics. So that's all I'm going to say.
I got to know who the team is. Oh, I found the team. Found the team.
Communist China beat us.
Found the team.
What team?
The United States.
Like the Olympic team?
Yeah, I see who's on it.
All right. Who's
not a single person that I listed is on this team.
Well, okay. Now we know the problem.
So there's a problem. Okay.
That's a big problem. I have something in here. It says an update on the Veep stakes. I don't know if there's anything to say about that. I just want to put this in here. We're recording this Sunday, August 4th at 2:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A vice president has not been picked for the Democrats. Probably will by the time this comes out. I'm still hoping for Tim Walz. John, do you have any predictions?
If I had to guess, if it's going to go the way that I want it to, then I'm going to agree with you. I have a really bad feeling, though, that it's going to be Shapiro.
Yeah, so you're balls to the walls like me?
Yeah, I want... look, I love Minnesota. It's not part of Appalachia, but I love what they're doing in Minnesota. And I also...
They're doing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, they're doing great. And that governor has done a great job. Shapiro, I think, is a liability at this point. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I think the prediction markets still have Josh Shapiro as number one, which prediction markets don't really matter, but Josh Shapiro, anybody she chooses, it'll be fine, guys. It'll be fine. I know he's the biggest liability because of the vouchers thing, really, and I think he's got some stuff from his past that's going to come up, some sexual harassment allegations from his office that have emerged, and so I think there's a little bit of a liability there. But a lot of people look at him and say, oh, the governor of Pennsylvania, he's got like a 60% approval rating. He won big in his election. I can see why those things are attractive. The one thing I'll say is he was running against a complete lunatic, Doug Mastriano. Yeah. So that wasn't really a super competitive election with respect to that. The other thing that I will point out, and I think that it matters where someone's from, but I really don't think that it plays into it that much. Lots of people say, well, Josh Shapiro, you pick him, you get Pennsylvania. That ain't how it works. It's not a transaction, guys. It's just not.
If that was the case, Trump would have won New York.
Yeah, yeah, he would have. He would have won New York.
It's not how that happens.
Yeah, that's true. So I also just think that someone like Tim Walz or even Andy Beshear have appeal beyond their states.
And to me, that should be 1 and 2. I know Beshear's pretty much out of the running now, but that should be the 1 and 2 punch, in terms of who she should be picking. Again, my opinion. So she obviously is in a much higher position than I am, so there's probably a reason for that. So I'm sure she'll listen.
Yeah, I would think so.
I hope so. I'm sure that she'll listen to her team and that they've done extensive research, and I'm sure they have vetted as much as you legally can. maybe even more. I don't know. It's the government.
They can do a lot.
They can do a lot, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. And if you were a gun to my head, I would bet on Shapiro being the choice. But I do think Walz. I think there's a real chance that she could pick him. And based on the reporting I've seen, is that Tim Walz, Josh Shapiro, and Mark Kelly from Arizona are all in D.C. this weekend interviewing with the vice president herself. So we shall see.
That's crazy. Like, hey, I want you to come and interview for this job. By the way, it just happens to be like the second biggest job in the country.
It's funny you should say that, John, because that's a great transition. As wild as that is. But you're right, it is. It's kind of funny, and I don't know. Maybe that's the most humanizing thing about them is now they know how it feels to interview for a job, and 2 of them will find out how to interview and not get the job because I've certainly had that experience quite a bit in my life.
Yeah, samesies. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Like they're gonna be, a couple of them are gonna be humbled. That's for sure.
For sure. So you mentioned, though, the whole interviewing for vice president. It's a great transition. So something I'm thinking that we'll probably do here, we're not going to talk about J.D. Vance all the time, but we are going to do an update every now and then because he is running on a presidential ticket, which is horrifying, terrifying, and probably one of our worst nightmares. But we do have to keep track of the guy, and he had a wild story come out. This guy, whatever the opposite of good PR is him. Yeah. Because he clearly, somebody should just never allow him in front of a microphone ever again or in front of a reporter because he's just completely just shit the bed unbelievably. So there was this podcast he did. I don't remember which one it was, but I'm quoting this. It's from the New York Times. There's also a video of him doing this podcast interview, and he's talking about when he got the call from Trump that he was going to be his vice president. So this is what it says. Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, during a podcast that was released on Friday, shared an anecdote about the moment former President Donald J. Trump called him to be his running mate. And he said, so his 7-year-old son is there wanting to discuss Pokemon. So you think, oh, this is the lead up to an adorable story that might humanize this guy, that might make him look relatable. His kid's into Pokemon. That's very relatable, especially to me. I was a Pokemon nut back in the day. We talked about it. I wheeled and dealed on the Trek playground. Anyway, his 7-year-old son wants to discuss Pokemon. And this is a direct quote. So he's trying to talk to me about Pikachu, and I'm on the phone with Donald Trump, and I'm like, son, shut the hell up for 30 seconds about Pikachu, he said. And then New York Times says, referring to the Pokemon mascot, which is a hilarious way of describing Pikachu.
Yeah, what the heck?
He said, quote, this is the most important phone call of my life. Please just let me take this phone call. So he basically tells his kid to go fuck himself, take your Pikachu and shove it. I'm on the phone with Donald Trump. What a dickhead.
Okay, but it's exactly the guy Trump wants, man. The guy will abandon his family for Donald Trump.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like, I mean, he doesn't care.
Honestly, look, I said, I think it was last week or the week before, J.D. Vance doesn't understand Trump voters. He understands Donald Trump. I'm sure he did this because it shows fealty and it shows a willingness to recklessly disregard even his own kin in praise of the dear leader.
Fair. Plus, I'm sure Trump has said that to his kids plenty of times, so he probably is like, oh, that's relatable.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's like, shut the hell up is the I love you from the Trump family, I think.
My family too, though, so I can't really say much there.
Well, there's relatable there. I will just say, like, you know, I feel bad for his kid. I would have, like, if I'm his dad, I would have hung up the phone and said, let's talk Pokemon, not just because I have a vested interest in that, but because it is your son. And, you know, or maybe just don't tell him to shut the hell up, perhaps. I'm not a parent.
I was going to say,
I'm a childless cat man.
I can't pretend that I would hang up the phone, because I don't think I would. But I think I would be like, I would be like, give me a minute. Like, you know, I would try to say it calmly. Telling your kid to shut the hell up is a lot. And then, especially then admitting it, like this guy doesn't, I know what he's doing. Like, I know he's trying to humanize himself. Like, that's what this is about. But he's just really making people dislike him more.
Yeah, he hasn't dealt with his childhood trauma. So he's like, oh, well, this is how my parents would talk to me. It's like, but yeah, I spit my dip out in my kid's face and I said, shut the hell up.
There's your Pikachu.
Yeah, Pikachu. And what I would do is I'd just put Bluey on an iPad and throw it that way and then get distracted for 20 seconds.
Fetch.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, what do I know? I'm not a parent. I'm a childless cat man, dog man.
I'm a dog man,
person,
too.
So, dog man. Whoa, whoa. Yeah. Anyway. What? That's right. What else about JD? Anything else to talk about with him before we...
I'm just... Yeah, I'm at that point. I'm a little worn out on JD. I'm glad that he wasn't in the news as much currently. Like, you know, things have kind of pushed through. It's going to ramp back up once he he's going to start making more appearances. I will say something, though. I was in Chicago this week, and Trump was there. Yeah.
Weird.
Some say because he was talking to me about the vice presidency. I can't confirm that.
Oh, well, was it for the National Association of Black Journalists thing?
Yes, it was.
Chicago? Oh,
yeah, it definitely was. And I got to tell you.
Oh, shit.
It was that, Lollapalooza, and...
Lollapalooza?
Yeah, it was happening at the same time.
That's Lollapalooza.
Lollapalooza. That's
the Appalachian Lollapalooza.
And the ABA, the ABA like attorney conference thing. So, pretty packed city at the time. I will tell you, he gets a lot of hate, but that dude, I mean, he like shut down a lot of roads based off how many people were trying to see him, which is bad, I guess.
Well, I'm sure that it's also in response to the fact that he was someone tried to assassinate him.
That's fair. Forgot about that already. Wild,
right?
It also, the funny part is, like 10 minutes after it ended, we were at a restaurant, and somebody you hear somebody talking, be like, they just rushed him off the stage, and the whole time I'm thinking like, oh God, like did he get hurt or did he have a heart attack or something because he's old? They're like, no, he fucking bombed, dude.
Well, he definitely did. He definitely did. I mean, there's so many podcasts that are going to be talking about that, but he let's just say it, nobody's surprised. You put Trump in the room with a bunch of black female journalists, you can't be surprised if things got a little racist.
He did talk about Vance, though.
He did. And actually, one last thing on him. There has been a rumor mill going around that Trump is shopping around for a replacement VP. I don't know how legit that is, but there have been stories leaked from his campaign just because of how bad Vance has been, and because that was a cocky pick when Biden was still running. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think... let's put your strategist hat on. Let's say that if you're wanting Trump to win, you get into that mindset, do you keep JD or no?
You have to.
Why?
Yeah, you have to, because Trump's gimmick is that he never backs down. That's his gimmick.
But he does fire people.
Hey, I get that, but he doesn't do it to his vice president.
Yeah, that's true.
And so he's gonna. Well, hey, that could be a route, okay? But firing, I don't think happens. I think he's gonna keep him, and I think it's. I mean, the other reason is he still hasn't pivoted from his storyline of like, I'm the guy who makes the best decisions. Like that's always going to be his thing.
Yeah, so that would mean it would be him admitting he's wrong. Yeah.
He would have to admit he was wrong. I don't know if Trump can do that. I will say if he does, it's going to hurt him, I think, a little bit with his base. But I think with the people in the middle, who, believe it or not, there are
undecided.
There really is. That may help him.
It very well could. I would say if he was going to do it, he should do it the day after Kamala Harris announces her VP. To steal
That's a good idea.
To really rob them of the news cycle. But yeah, I mean, I don't see him doing it just because it would be effectively admitting a mistake. However, if he wanted to win, and that's the top priority of him, Vance doesn't get you anything. And at least with some other people, there's at least an argument. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty wild, though, and I think that he's probably just going to have to make the bed and lie in it.
Yeah, I don't know how he gets around it. I think he's going to just have to move forward. But I will say, I do think that things are pointing towards him making a change, only because of the rhetoric he's using is odd. Like, he didn't use that with Pence. He's always been like, I'm the president, but he's never said like the VP really doesn't matter. But he pretty much said that about Vance.
I mean, he literally said it, didn't he?
He said it doesn't determine the election.
Yeah. So effectively, he did. Yeah, that's so funny. The big thing is they once they start printing ballots, because lots of people do electronic ballots, but once they start doing that, things get a little more complicated. They're still technically legally sometime, but once people start early voting, which happens, I think, in the next couple weeks, that's when you run out.
Maybe Vance knows something that we don't in terms of him maybe not moving forward as the nominee, because now he's just blatantly pushing back against Trump.
What did he do?
So Trump spoke in Georgia, and he talked about how the election was essentially a fraud. The security's bad. That's why he didn't do so hot there. And he attacked Kemp.
Trump did, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, JD then goes and talks about how it's it's super secure. The RNC has made sure it's super secure. And he complimented George about it.
Probably because he doesn't want to go to fucking prison.
Oh my, he's like, that former President Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, on Sunday expressed confidence in Georgia's election security, a contrast with Trump's recent attacks against Republican state officials. He talks a little bit about how they currently have, these cases, but I mean, he all in all says, like here's, I think, a good, he continues to talk about how it was secure. And it is secure.
He's probably trying to pretend like he's the moderating voice on that ticket.
That could be fair, because I mean that was kind of the.
Or he doesn't want to get in trouble for fucking, like, what is it, libel or slander or whatever the fuck it is.
Like a defamation suit.
Yeah, defamation. That's right. Like the one that was levied against Fox News for the Dominion voting machines.
I mean, that's true. That's a good point. Like, PayPal's not going to cover that lawsuit. So he's going to have to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you might be right there, but it just seems odd that the vice presidential candidate is walking back something the president has already, former president has already said. Especially after Trump says the VP pick doesn't determine the election. It just seems like these guys are back and forth.
It's funny you say that. This headline is hilarious. J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate, suggests the VP pick doesn't really matter.
Okay. Well, I stand corrected.
So that's like,
this guy doesn't even care.
That's the biggest cucked move I think I've ever seen.
Oh my god!
Hey guys, actually, don't worry about me. I don't actually matter.
Golly, dude.
Oh man. Well, let's move on from JD, shall we?
Sure.
We've got a Patreon, patreon.com/Appalachia. You can join for as little as $5 a month. Get access to bonus exclusives. Exclusive merch and live events that we're doing. We do hangouts on Zoom. They're a lot of fun. Sometimes we get drunk and riff. Sometimes we do structured activities. You never know what we're going to do. It's a good time. You can also help us finance this show because we don't make money doing this, really. We have a handful of sponsors, but everything else is crowdfunded, baby.
Heck yeah, brother. Get on over there, patreon.com/Appalachia. We're ramping it up. I know that we just posted about some new tiers, not tears as in crying, but tiers, T-I-E-R-S. I just want to make sure liberal that's clear. Tiers. No one's crying over there. No one's crying over there except for our liberal tears are constantly coming down our face.
Truth.
Make sure you get over there and have some fun.
Yeah.
And the community's great. Everyone there is great.
Check it out. Yeah, last time we did a hangout, we had a Patreon member live stream from her job at the zoo in California, and we got to see baby river otters, and it was pretty adorable.
And maybe next time we'll be able to get someone to stream from the Columbus Zoo.
Yeah, as they commit fraud.
And then we could see the inside of a cool fraudulent scheme.
They're going to say the inside of a courthouse.
I've seen that plenty.
Yeah, no, it's actually not very exciting. It's all government funded bullshit.
Yeah, it's actually not fun.
No, it's pretty ugly.
Part, no.
Yeah, so check it out there, and while you're at it, this is the most pathetic story I think I could muster, but I'm going to share it. I f***ed up my back at Walmart doing nothing.
I remember you texted me this.
Yeah, that's right, I did. I said I think I threw my back out at Walmart.
You I got like a panicked text. And I legitimately looked over at Taylor and I was like, I'm not sure if Chuck meant to send me this. Like,
oh, I did.
It was like, and then I was like, then the conversation continued. I was like, he definitely meant to send it to me.
No, I did. I'm like, John knows about this. John has a bad back.
Yeah.
I screwed up my back so bad. I don't even know how. Maybe it's just being 34.
Being old, dude.
Yeah, being old. Being old. But you know what? My cornbread hemp gummies came in the mail.
Ooh.
4 milligrams of THC in each one of them. Buddy.
Turn down, dude.
Turn down. I was not feeling back pain. I'll tell you that much. I was not feeling back pain after taking them. And you can too. You can use our promo code Banjo, Banjo, to get 25% off checkout at cornbreadhemp.com. They've been advocating on behalf of you, the consumer, in Washington, D.C. for better hemp and cannabis policies. So they put their money where their mouth is.
That's the thing, man. It's tough to find a company who's going to go to bat for their consumers. They've done that. They've proven that they have, one, a good product, and two, that they're good people. I think you got to support them here.
Yeah. Look, we don't partner with just any old company. We really don't. The only thing we do is we have our merch store through TeePublic. That's it. Other than that, we only partner with like companies that we like and that we endorse. That's why Red Rooster Coffee and Cornbread Hemp are our partners.
And make it clear, if because I got a question about this the other day. If there was an Appalachian version of TeePublic, we would 1,000,000% use it.
100%, yeah.
But
if we can make it work, we want to do local.
But we cannot. We do not. Okay, I'm gonna break the fourth wall real quick.
Bust it down.
We don't have a warehouse. We don't own a warehouse.
Breaking news to a lot of people.
We don't have a lot of spare money. Like, we don't buy a bunch of stuff and hold on to it and ship it. The only shirts that we've ever shipped ourselves, my wife handmade.
In their version of a Cricket sweatshop.
We had it, yeah. It was a tire sweatshop where she made it. I packaged and shipped it. Like, people who got the founder shirts, which I found the design for that the other day, weirdly enough. But people got the founder shirt, got that from us. I don't want to do that anymore or ever again. So, but if there is some type of Appalachian version of TeePublic where people can order and then ship it, and they take care of like printing, shipping, all that stuff, send it to us. Let us know. We're not, we're not married to TeePublic.
No, it's just an engagement. We can be annulled. We don't, it's fine. Yeah, let us know. Let us fucking know, man. So, what I was thinking this week, because there's going to be so much discussion about this, there already is, and there has been for years, and we've kind of talked on the periphery of it, but I thought today it might be a fun discussion to talk about, is Appalachia Trump country? Because there's been and we're going to talk about a couple of think pieces. I call them think pieces that came out from mostly coastal elite journo people who, love to talk about Appalachia without ever knowing much about it. Some of them, not so much. Some of them, yes. But I really want to get into this discussion with you because I get so annoyed when places like Appalachia that are complex are boiled down to just how they vote, and that's the only thing people know about them. That's the only thing people associate with them, and then they make judgments and stereotypes based off of that alone. So I guess you know how I feel about this. But John, what is your opinion, reaction to the statement by many that people say Appalachia is Trump country?
Well, I think you got to dissect it real quick.
Pull it apart.
It's easy to say that based off of the messaging that has been coming out of the region, the news coverage that's been coming from the region, and just basically driving through the region. You'll see a lot of support for Trump. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
However, it is way more complex than simply saying that this is Trump country. What I think actually needs to be said is that this is not Democrats' country. And the reason, not Democrats in general, the National Democratic Party. That's what this really is not. I don't think it's just a Trump thing. I think right now it's a anti-national Democratic Party, not because they disagree with the views, but because they feel no connection there.
Because there is none.
That's what I mean. Like, you can't claim that the region shut you out when you've never tried to come in. I mean, that's the thing. Like, our best memories in Appalachia of a national Democratic figure coming here is still JFK.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
I mean, and people talk about like, well, you know, it's very conservative. No. Grand Central Mall in Vienna, West Virginia has an entire section of photography in a hallway of JFK coming to Parkersburg. There's an entire section of it. There's
and
not
at the Blennerhassett Hotel.
There's one of the, guess what? 0. There are 0 of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But that's because that's the last person from that side who was charismatic, who showed up, who knocked on people's doors, who told them what they thought, what they really thought, not what they thought New York and California and everybody else wanted to hear. And that's just how it worked, man. Like that's what we remember. And so it's less Trump country and more very disconnected from the National Democratic Party.
Yeah, and I think back then, too, it was looked at as like, well, he doesn't have... I mean, like, I know it was during the primary and everything, but there was some sense of like, oh, he wants to be here because he actually wants to understand this region and its problems. Now, political cynics, and I'm sure historians will be like, well, you know, there was a reason for him to be there, and I'm sure there was, but that was a sentiment on the ground at the time. Now, there have been candidates who have come through places like West Virginia, Ohio, and those places. Like, during the 2008 Democratic primary, that's when I met Barack Obama because he came to Charleston, West Virginia, and I had been volunteering with the campaign, got to go shake hands with him backstage with Nick Rahal at the time.
Dude, Nick Rahal, man, that's a name I haven't heard forever.
Nick motherfucking Rahal, baby. Yeah, and so he was there, and so is Jay Rockefeller. Anyway, they'll do campaign stops there, but they won't go door knocking. They won't. It's spending the time. And like, yeah, Bernie Sanders did some town halls here after Trump was elected and that kind of stuff.
Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, but which was good. It's not, but
they
it's
did
not
it,
enough, and it's
they did it in the most liberal areas.
Well, they did it. One of them was in Matewan.
Okay, that's fair. The one that I always remember that was really well attended was Shepherdstown.
Yeah, that's where they all went after the election to go into the heartland, which Shepherdstown is like the most
and I was
liberal part of
Yeah, like it's like, come on.
Yeah, it's, you know, they should have done is gone to the Greenbrier full Big Jim there. So he was Democrat at the time until he changed. Anyway,
I can buy it.
What? Yeah, they can buy it.
They can just buy it.
Yeah, you can now. It's up for public auction. So I take issue with this, and I think like what bothers me is that it's now cemented into people's minds that this is Trump country. And there's this one, you know, there's think pieces that have come out now, they've come out especially in 2017, and we're going to relitigate the past a little bit here, people. I'm thinking of one in particular. It was written by a guy named Frank Rich in 2017 for New York Magazine, I think. It was called No Sympathy for the Hillbilly. Democrats need to stop trying to feel everyone's pain and hold on to their own anger. Basically, what it was in a nutshell, and there's a lot of these national think pieces like this, was, well, Democrats shouldn't waste time in places like Appalachia and with the hillbillies because they're just too backwards and vote against their interest you want to bother with anyway. They're never going to vote for you, so why should you care? And what they'll do when they write this, people like Frank Rich, they'll couch this in terms of, oh, I'm talking about political strategy. Buddy, nobody is going to New York Magazine looking for political strategy, so just get off your high horse right now. This is a symbol of this intellectually stupid thinking in binary terms about places without appreciation for complexity and nuance. And we talk about this all the time, and people are probably sick and tired of me saying this because I'm like a broken record. Stop looking at places as red and blue. There are more complicated things than that. This is not electoral denialism. I am not under any other impression that places like West Virginia and Ohio and Tennessee vote very heavily for people like Donald Trump and Republicans across the board. Now, hasn't always been that way. In fact, probably about 20 years ago or so, give or take, it was very much the opposite. less than 20 years ago in West Virginia, they had a Democratic supermajority. My point is that I hate when people write like this for big publications because it starts to get into the public thinking, the zeitgeist, if you will. And so people just start automatically accepting places like Appalachia as Trump country. And then that then encourages people to disregard it or have stereotypes about it that then just gets seeped into the public consciousness to where there's no discussion, no nuance about it, and it's often written off. And it pisses me off.
Yeah, because no one wants to ask the question of why did this change happen? Like in places like West Virginia, no one wants to talk about that. It's easier to say these people are morons, they'll vote against their interests, and they'll do so, and it doesn't matter what you say. But they refuse to look at the history of the region and look at, actually, a lot of the region was firmly Democratic at one point. And then you saw the transition. Why? Mm-hmm. Because the National Party left it behind. They chose to leave it behind. That's been the story of the Democratic Party and Appalachia. You can't deny that. The problem there is the Republicans then took the ball and ran with it. They showed up. They started knocking on people's doors. They started going to events and saying, "Hey, neighbor, how are you?" Democrats don't do that in the region. They just don't, man. And I'm not talking like House of Delegates members. I'm talking national, senatorial, congressional, all of those, presidential. They're the ones who have left the region behind. The National Party decided that it would change its rhetoric to focus firmly on large areas, large domestic areas that they could win the votes in. At least that's what they targeted. But they also said that means we have to give up something, and they gave up the region. That's what they did.
Which is a bad calculation because you don't have to give up shit.
You don't. You don't have to.
Well, and so you're right on all of that. Look back at Kentucky, West Virginia, and Tennessee. All three of those places at one point in our lifetimes, actually, I think as recently as about 2004 or 6 maybe, so within the past 20 years, those three states had Democratic supermajorities and a Democratic governor. So they had a trifecta government, which is wild to think about nowadays. West Virginia having a Democratic supermajority in their legislature, Tennessee having a Democratic trifecta. That was as recent, I think, as 2010, because Phil Bredesen was still governor. Now, they lost some of those majorities when he won re-election, I think, 2010, the Tea Party way. But still, it's like to write these places off as just these bastions of red and that's it just... To me, it does a disservice to the region because it writes off all the people that aren't like that, which is still a lot of people despite what the vote margins are. It's a lot of people. And it also is like, just because people vote a certain way doesn't mean you write them off as people. Because I can tell you one thing, there's a lot of people that if you give them a reason to vote for you, they're persuadable. Maybe not this cycle, maybe not next cycle, but they are. And it's because, generally speaking, people want the same thing. They want safety, they want security, and they want to be able to put food on the table.
1,000%. And how quickly people forget, too. And I know that this is also a thing that Democrats tend to do more than Republicans currently, and that is they like to make certain Democrats feel like not Democrats, which pushes them out of the party. So like people who are seen as like moderate Dems, right?
Yeah.
Get attacked a lot by their own party as not being liberal enough. That blows my mind because we should just be trying to pull them in to get to a point. But anyway, people forget the governors in West Virginia, elected Democrat was Joe Manchin. Elected Democrat first time was Big Jim. He switched
Earl
after
Ray
he
Tomlin.
won. Earl Ray Tomlin, who won a vast... I mean, it wasn't close when he ran. Look at all of those people who dominated their races. How about now? Let's just look at today. Bashir won Kentucky. A super, quote, conservative area. And he won without having to substitute his morals. Like, he still won.
Yeah, he defended trans people and still won.
Right.
So, wow, blows your mind in Kentucky. Yes, that can happen, and that's exactly the point. And if you listen to people, especially Trump-Bashir voters, you listen to them, and they'll tell you, a lot of them, I've listened to several focus groups and read through a number of different polls and just news stories, they'll say, like, he showed up, and we trust him. We don't agree with him on everything, but we trust him because he showed up. And he's someone who we see, he's there all the time, and we believe that he has the best interest of Kentucky in heart. And I think that that's often what gets lost in this. And it's this simple-minded way of thinking that these supposed high-minded intellectuals at places like the New Yorker, New York Magazine, all this other stuff, will say is like, well, you just write, like, there's a red state, it's a blue state. That's the most juvenile, like, just completely. I can't. I don't even have words to describe it because I've just gone on this diatribe.
It's
so many
lazy.
times. It's lazy.
It's lazy.
Thank you. It's a lazy way of categorizing a place, and it does so many people a disservice because lots of people are going to read that and be like, oh, red state, blue state. If you ask people what they know about places like Kentucky, West Virginia, they'll be like, oh, it's a red state. That's the only thing they'll know about it. And, yeah, it may be incumbent upon them to learn more, but it's also incumbent. That was weird. My whole page refreshed.
I've had that happen.
Huh. Okay. Well, if you can still hear me, that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's, I mean, this is just me litigating a pet peeve for this episode, but
Sure.
It does make me angry because there is so much more. There's more people there that are doing important things that get overlooked so much. And there are people on the ground, like rural organizers, not the National Party, the people that are bootstraps like Anderson Clayton in North Carolina that are going out every day in rural Republican voting areas of North Carolina, knocking on doors, converting voters over. And I will say that this time around, now that J.D. Vance has been named the vice president nominee, the think pieces have been better, John. Save for one or two, there's been a lot of publications that have issued mea culpas in the form of publishing other people who are saying, I'm from Appalachia, J.D. Vance doesn't represent me. And to that I say, I'm very glad that they're changing their tune. Wish they would have done that when Hillbilly LG came out in 2017 around that time, but we will accept that. And it's good that now other people are getting that type of coverage and that type of second look, I should say.
Yeah, it's about time. And that's the thing is like, and that's what makes people think media isn't legitimate, because things like this happen. They attack Appalachia for years and years and years. They refuse to put our voice out there. Then a guy who is detrimental to them, because he also talks about fake news and is now obviously number 2 to the guy who spouts fake news the most, he's dangerous to them now. They see what we saw when he came after us. Now they're like,
that's a good point.
Oh shit, what are we gonna do if this guy wins? And it's exactly what Appalachians said when people said, what are we going to do if people read this book? They're going to think so shitty of us. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. Yep. And so a lot of this coastal media bullshit is very well deserved for them being attacked on this, because it's so ridiculous that we had to scream for years and years and years into this, I don't know, purgatory-like area where no one could hear us. But then it finally affects them, and they're like, oh, wait a second, come on in. Where you been? Why haven't you been talking about this? You know, they want to play it up like they want to play it up like we've never talked about this. Buddy, we've been saying this forever. You just didn't want to listen. Now they want to listen because he's an enemy to them.
Truth.
Crazy. Crazy.
I wish you were wrong, but you are not. You are correct. You nailed it. I don't know that I have anything else to say on this topic. What about you?
No, I mean, it's one of those things like, it sucks this is how it had to be, but it is also, I don't know, it fills me with the sense of being right. Like, we were right, you didn't listen, and now you have an enemy that you didn't have to have.
Yeah. Well, I wish we weren't right. I wish that he was a genuinely empathetic and thoughtful person, but he is not.
Doesn't even want to talk about Pikachu.
Yeah, what kind of animal does not want to talk about Pikachu? What? That tells me he's not a human, man. He's a freaking android. Well, look, what I'll say to people is, if somebody calls Appalachia Trump country, just encourage them to think a little deeper and more complex, because just as California isn't all a bunch of voting Democratic, lefty, pinko, moonbeam people, Appalachia isn't all Trump voters. So with that, why don't we get a big, slopping, slithering, slimy, just juicy helping of beef? Because this one, I know what the beef is this week, and I'm salivating for it.
If you're bothered by heat, back up out the grill. My boy Big John's finna fix you up a meal. Yeah, your brother rules, that's a big deal. Got your mouth full, but it don't matter still. Y'all want some beef with Big John, but at the same time, don't you beef with Big John. Trying to be the man, but you sweet when it's time. Open up wide, it'll leave till it's gone. Eat your beef with Big John. Eat your beef with Big John. This is beef with Big John. Y'all got beef with Big John.
I can't believe this beef. This is a beef that is truly set in stupidity and greed.
It was seasoned in stupidity, perhaps?
Ooh, no salt, no pepper, all stupidity. And a little dash of greed. A little dash of greed in there.
Little dash of greed, just like a little bit of dill on there.
So we got to go to Virginia for this beef. Obviously, I'm not even going to say his name right now. I'm that mad about this. So I'm just going to say the governor of Virginia. We've spoken about the governor of Virginia in the past.
Yep.
We've talked about how he's made some questionable decisions.
Many questionable.
This is beyond questionable.
Yes.
So if you haven't heard, I can't even say this without laughing. Oh my God. So Virginia was going to participate in the IRS program that allowed for free tax filings. But the governor has blocked that, said we're not going to be doing it. They released a statement, and the program, people should know, the program would allow people to file their taxes online, free, directly to the IRS.
Which should be the case, have always been the case. It's absurd that you have to pay anything. It's something that everybody has to do. And they piloted it in a few states this past year if you met a certain tax bracket, I think. But it should be free, and this is objectively a good idea.
Yeah, it's a slam dunk. It is the easiest way for a Democrat to look at his base and say...
He's a Republican.
Or that's what I meant, sorry. A Republican, because my whole point was about this too. Republican, to look at his base and say, I told you that I was fiscally responsible. I told you. Then this happens. How can you say that? You can't anymore. He ran on tax cuts and saving people money, putting money back into people's pockets. That's literally an entire speech he gave. I watched a 20-minute speech where that's all he talked about was putting money back into voters' pockets. He literally just took more money out of theirs by doing this. Like,
and
so
they made
easy.
some. I don't remember what it said in the letter. He issued a letter from the governor under his letterhead. It said something like we're saving $1.5 million that it would take to implement this program. I believe that's what it was.
Says,
first of all,
the 1 point, just so I can clarify, it says,
yeah.
I introduced $150 million in funding IRMS and other, information systems. Tax estimates implementing these direct filing charges will cost an additional $1.5 million. IRMS replacement has previously been estimated to cost $24 million per year over 4 years. And the other thing that he tried to push was there are substantial legal questions as to whether or not this direct filing is okay.
Somebody look up to see what the corporate executives of TurboTax and Quicken donated to this man's campaign. All that money that you mentioned, guarantee that gets reimbursed to the taxpayer easily, because look, it usually costs for me, it usually costs like $80 to file online. And I'm sure it's every bit of that for most people. You do that like for every Virginian. I don't know how many people live in Virginia, but it's a ton. And let me just say that's a lot of money that they would be saving individually. And it's also regressive. So the less money you make, the more that impact is of that money being saved. To me, it's just absurd. It's absurd that we even have to pay a third-party company to file our damn taxes. And it's absurd that this governor, who is I believe a billionaire, he's a multimillionaire hedge fund manager, might be a billionaire. Either way, rich as hell, dude, has never had to worry about that money in his life. Probably doesn't file his own taxes. He probably pays an accountant to do it for him. Him blocking this is absurd.
So I found a bunch of the donations because I wanted to see what was happening here. So now I want to know, because you made a great point there. I didn't even think about that in terms of, who are they? Oh my gosh. It can't be me, just the only person looking, because I just tried to open secrets to this exact, it's the Intuit PAC donors. And it says it's so busy that it can't let me in.
They're probably doing it in so many different states too.
You're probably right. I mean, they're probably going after a bunch, and now we don't know, what they're going to try to do next. I mean, this is the problem, man, is like, we continue to allow like political donations like this, and they run rampant. Politicians lie until they get that check. Once they get that check, it's all out the window at that point, because no one could stick to their word, I guess.
If I'm the Democratic Party of Virginia, I'm running a mail campaign and an ad campaign targeting Tax Act and all these other tax websites, mostly digital ad campaign, I'll say this, around tax filing season. And I'm running a digital ad campaign that says the reason why you have to pay money to file your taxes this year is because of Governor Glenn Youngkin.
1,000%.
Banner ad on TurboTax.com.
He took money out of your pocket.
Literally.
Yeah.
This is the stupidest, there is nothing you can say to me that can convince me this is a smart idea.
Want to hear the worst part? This is not the worst part. It is it's another additional bad part.
Okay.
TurboTax.
Hit me.
TurboTax is laying off 1,800 people because it's switching to AI.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just because this program is. It's because they don't want. Fuck them.
They laid off
1,800
people because, oh my god, because they're switching. This is from their. This is from their CEO. The era of AI is one of the most significant technology shifts of our lifetime. Companies that aren't prepared to take advantage of this revolution will fall behind and will no longer exist.
AKA, we see a great opportunity for us to make a lot more money and make more money for our shareholders, and that's the only people that we are beholden to, not the consumer, not the taxpayer. Even though the taxpayer is literally the reason why we exist, it is the shareholders.
Yeah, and it's it's the CEO. Like, this is, just to wrap this up, I got to know what this guy's salary is.
Oh, for Intuit?
Yeah. Well, for TurboTax.
Oh yeah, it's a lot.
What? Oh boy. Intuit disclosed its CEO. He is the Intuit. Was 100. His pay is 133 times its median employee's pay for a fiscal year.
Which is what?
So
what's the median?
His
pay?
salary is only 1.1 million.
Well,
hold on.
That's hardly.
Here's the kicker. He gets a value of stock awards, which equates to 17.4 million. He gets a value of option award, 6.3 million. He gets a non-equity incentive plan compensation, 2.2 million. So his total compensation is $27 million.
Yep.
I mean,
that's how they do it. It's all those options and tax.
They get around it. Yeah,
that's
how they avoid tax, man.
Yeah,
that's how they do
it. That's like Jeff Bezos only gets $1 salary.
I love that. Yeah, like, that's all I'm paid. I can't. And then Elon's like, I'm cash poor. That's always his thing.
He's brain poor. Yeah, he's an idiot. He could liquidate his stocks literally any time he wants, buddy. It's
the too long didn't read version of this beef is companies will sell you out, and so won't politicians who promise not to.
That's right. And Virginians listening to this, complain to your governor.
Please.
But don't complain to him about us, preferably. But we thank you. We'll never complain about you. And we thank you for listening to this show.
He's not going to care.
We'll see you back here.
He's not going to care if they complain about us.
No, I don't give a shit about him. Our Virginia listeners and all of our listeners, thank you for listening, being here. We appreciate you. We love you. Goodbye.